It was a quiet Friday night like any other. Sarah was relaxing at home when she spotted a shadowy figure standing outside her window. She called 911 thinking help was on the way, but just minutes later she received this chilling text. "Stop calling them, they won't help you." This is a true story that left even the police baffled. What happened to Sarah that night will make you double check your locks before bed. So stay with me until the end because the twist in this story is something you won't believe. Sarah, a 23-year-old college student, lived alone in a quiet suburban neighborhood. That Friday night started like any other. She was scrolling through her phone, catching up on social media, but then she heard it, a faint tapping on her window. At first, she thought it was just the wind or maybe a tree branch. She got up to check and looked outside, but she didn't see anything. Shrugging it off, she went back to her phone. That's when she heard it again, louder this time. This time she froze. Standing just outside her backyard was a dark figure. It wasn't moving, just standing there, staring at her house. Sarah's first instinct was to call 911. The operator told her that the officers were on their way. That's when she felt a small sense of relief. That relief didn't last long. Just minutes after calling 911, Sarah's phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. The message read, "Stop calling them, they won't help you." She stared at her phone, trying to process what she just read. Her hands were trembling. How did this person know she called the police? And what did they mean? They won't help you. Panicking, Sarah tried calling 911 again, but this time the call wouldn't go through. Her phone showed call failed. This is where Sarah made her first mistake. She didn't immediately try to leave the house. Instead, she turned off all the lights, locked the doors, and hid in her bedroom closet. After that, she sent a frantic text to her best friend saying, "Help, someone is outside." Her friend responded right away, promising to call the police for her. But as Sarah waited, her fear only grew bigger and bigger. She could hear the wind outside and the faint sound of footsteps crunching in the grass. Whoever was out there was getting closer and closer. Sarah's phone buzzed again. The new text said, "I'm inside." That's when she started shaking as her worst fear had just come true. A sudden creak pierced the silence. It came from the back door. Sarah froze, her breath caught in her chest. The unmistakable sound of slow, deliberate footsteps echoed through the house. The footsteps weren't rushed. They were steady, almost methodical, as though the intruder wanted Sarah to know they were there. Each step was heavier than the last, making the floorboards groan under their weight. Huddled in the corner of her bedroom, Sarah gripped her phone so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Her breathing was shallow, barely audible, but her heartbeats pounded in her ears like a drum. She desperately wanted to call for help, but her body refused to move. As the footsteps grew closer, Sarah realized the intruder was checking every room. Doors creaked open, one after the other. The sound of drawers being pulled out and furniture being moved echoed faintly. It was clear they weren't just looking, they were searching. Then, a whisper cut through the darkness like a blade. "I know you're here," he said. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. The voice was close, far too close. She clammed her hand over her mouth to keep from gasping. Whoever it was, they were standing just outside her door. The intruder hesitated. Their shadow was stretching across the floor as they stood motionless. For a moment it seemed like they might leave, but then the doorknob rattled. Sarah's mind raced. Would they find her? Were they armed? Was this the end? But before the door could open, a loud knock at the front door shattered the silence. It was the police. Their timing was perfect. The intruder's footsteps shifted instantly, retreating with a sense of urgency. Sarah heard them moving quickly toward the back of the house, so she wanted to scream, to call for help, but she stayed frozen, her body paralyzed by fear. Moments later, she heard the front door open, followed by the booming voices of the police. And when Sarah finally stepped out of her hiding place, the intruder was gone. Somehow, they had slipped away into the night, leaving no visible trace of their presence. When the police entered the house, they expected clear signs of a break-in, but there were none. No broken windows, no pried locks. It was as if whoever had been inside simply vanished. Room by room, the house revealed nothing but silence, yet the officers couldn't shake the eerie feeling of being watched. Then, Sarah's trembling hand pointed towards her phone on the coffee table. The text she received came from an untraceable burner phone, but the GPS location sent chills down everyone's spine. You see, the phone was inside the house, and the messages were sent from just few feet away. As officers searched further, they uncovered a single chilling clue: a scarf Sarah thought she lost years ago, neatly placed in her bedroom, which got everyone wondering, why was it here, and why now? That's when the officers suspected it might be a trophy, a disturbing sign of someone planning to return. Despite the efforts, no further evidence was found. Whoever had been there had slipped away, leaving only fear behind. Sarah moved out the very next day, leaving behind the house and the memories of that night. She installed security cameras in her new home, but she never felt safe again. And to this day, the case remains unsolved. So tell me, do you think the intruder had been watching Sarah for weeks? Was this someone she knew? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if this story gave you chills, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And see ya in the next one.